Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Unlearn with Bianca. On this podcast, we explore everything around self healing, health, personal growth, the mind body connection, relationships, and more. Hello, my friends. Welcome back to another episode. Thank you for being patient with me. I know it's been a few weeks since the last episode came out. I have been balancing work, I've been balancing travel for work, clients, and I have also been doing, since March, I've been doing some study. I'm not going to fully share what it's all about just yet until I've done the final in person component of the study in Melbourne in a few weeks. So I'm over there for a week, which is very exciting. But all I can say is it is lighting me up. It is definitely within the realm of the nervous system, it's within the realm of health, women's nervous system specifically, energetic healing. Yeah, I'm just learning so much. At the moment, I'm doing a module on de-armoring the body. So more of a body work approach to the nervous system. I've always understood the importance of body work and working with both the brain and the body. And also, I have really come to learn I have been sleeping on some of my innate, I'm going to call it healing, but my innate gifts that I haven't really been tapping into that I know are there, which come in the form of energetic healing and body work. So, yeah, I'm delving into that. I know everything I learn on this training I'm doing is going to enhance my work. It's going to give my clients tenfold results. So I'm really looking forward to integrating some of my teachings. And let's just say that the training itself has been quite intensive and I have really needed to practice what I preach. I've been getting up every morning, doing my meditations, doing my breath work, doing my embodiment practices. So it's been a lot, but it's been amazing. Anyway, with all of that in mind, I feel like I'm going through quite a big shift internally at the moment. So, in terms of the podcast, I've also had a whole lot of realizations around that, and I am going to get into video content for the second half of the year. So, as a heads up, and to give myself an opportunity to fully immerse myself when I'm away in my training, I will be taking about a month off the podcast, and in the background, I've been lining up some interviews with clients. I'm just going to take a creative break. And then once we're back into it at the end of May, early June, you will see me on video. So that's very exciting. And I've also realized on the podcast, you guys probably haven't noticed this, but I'm still using an image of myself from like 2019 as the profile picture of the podcast. So it's time to level up. And yeah, you're going to see just a little bit of a shift when I come back mid-year. I'm definitely feeling like it's time to do a bit of an upgrade. And I really want to emphasize that as listeners, your feedback in terms of who you want to hear, what you want more episodes on, that really helps me. So please, even if I am taking a few weeks off, do not hesitate at all to message me, to comment on Spotify, because I will see that. Send through any questions and I will keep that in mind when I'm planning the future episodes. Okay, so today's episode is inspired by one of my clients who I was checking in with yesterday. And at the end of her call, because she's had such great changes with her health and just her general mindset after doing the lightning process training with me, at the end of the call, she said, "Why is this stuff not getting taught in schools?" And it was funny because that comment has been said to me so many times from different people. And I've also said that in my head thousands of times. Why are we not teaching this stuff around the brain, around the nervous system at school? I'm sure there are certain schools out there that are starting to interweave this sort of stuff, but it got me thinking and it got me inspired. And I thought, why not do an episode on this? What you should have learned about at school, Neuroscience edition. I mean, personally, I can't remember the last time I used trigonometry. I don't even remember how to do any of that. I don't even remember long division, to be honest. My cousin asked me to help her kids with their homework, like their year 6 homework, and I couldn't even help. That's how little I remember from school. So I think we spent a lot of time in the current education system teaching on things that, yeah, they could be beneficial in some respect, but actually there's things that we should be learning at a much younger age that probably could have been more beneficial than learning to play the recorder. Nothing against recorder, nothing against music, but I think we could have been learning some stuff around relationships, learning some stuff around emotions and brain and change instead of taking recorder lessons every single year throughout primary school and intermediate. I'm sure some of you guys agree with me. So let's get into it. What we should have been taught at school, Neuroscience edition. I was about 2019 when I was first given the book The Secret. Some of you, I'm sure, have read The Secret before. It's all about positive thinking. It's about manifestation. I was on board with it. I was open to it. But it wasn't until I did the lightning process training and I really started to understand about neuroplasticity and did, further study that I really started to connect the dots that there is this huge crossover with neuroscience and actually brain change and positive thinking and that whole realm. So to me, having a greater understanding about this realm was sort of like getting the cheat sheet to life. And I think if we were taught these things that I'm about to share at a younger age, then we would move through life completely differently. Our relationships, we'd have a different relationship with our body, about how we see our own potential. And we'd also have a language for what's actually happening inside of us. Because when we understand something and we have a language for it, then, for someone like me, it makes so much more sense and it's so much easier to work with. So the first thing that I think we should have been taught at school is that your nervous system is always protecting you and not sabotaging you. And if you are new to this idea of the nervous system, go all the way back to episode 3 where I do a whole episode on it. Your nervous system is protecting you and not sabotaging you. Also, your brain's priority is survival and not happiness. Okay? So your nervous system goes in to protect you, your brain goes in to also protect you. And without having this knowledge, most people grow up thinking that their reactions are the problem. So responses like anxiety, shutdown, overthinking, outbursts of anger, they know that they're happening and then they beat themselves up for those responses happening. But these responses aren't flaws or they're not signs that you're broken. They're actually protective responses shaped by your past experiences and what your body has learned about safety. So when we start to learn and see our nervous system as something that is just trying to keep us safe, even in outdated ways, what happens is you stop going to war with yourself and instead you start building this understanding and this capacity to see it as an outdated response. So you can't shame yourself into change. It just doesn't work. I have tried to do that. I'm sure many of you have tried to do that. But it doesn't work that way. Change takes compassion and it takes us understanding that a response is just something that worked for us in the past. I really see life through this lens now. Every person I meet in my life, I do my best. I have my days, but I do my best to have this lens on and this hat on. That if someone is acting out, if somebody is, having this big response, if they're shutting down, whatever it is, I will trust that that is something that they learned or they didn't have the skills to deal with, or I don't see those behaviors on the surface as them. I know that they are responses that have been playing out for a long time, that they likely learned when they were younger and have just been playing ever since. Yes, it is their responsibility to change, but I think if we can have this lens of just seeing people as products of environments and also that their nervous system always goes in to protect them, then it would allow us to be a lot more patient with other people. So there's a lot of neuroscience behind this, but really the thing I want you to know is our nervous system is built around this core survival system, and that includes the amygdala, which is the threat detection, and the autonomic nervous system, which is our fight, flight, freeze, and fawn responses. So this system together works faster than conscious thought. It's constantly asking, it's in the present moment, it's constantly asking, have I seen something like this before and did it feel unsafe? So when you feel anxiety or you feel frustration or anger, what is often happening is your brain has detected a similar pattern to past experiences of a threat, and it activates a protective response to keep you safe. So this is called predictive processing. Your brain is constantly predicting danger based on your past learning, not your present reality. Hopefully you guys sort of can see where I'm going here. It also applies to chronic illness. Like people that know chronic illness well, that are stuck in fear, their brains are predicting how bad symptoms might be based on the past and then projecting that into the future. Even if they feel okay in the moment, their brain is constantly on alert, constantly fearing potential symptoms. So it becomes a cycle. I'll give you a quick example. So if someone grew up in an environment where they were often criticized or interrupted, their nervous system may start to treat raised voices or disagreement or even certain tones of voices as a threat. And as an adult, when they're in a conversation and someone interrupts them, their body might go into this tightness in the chest, the racing thoughts, or maybe even like an urge to shut down. Or the opposite would be like an urge to over explain. Logically, they know they're safe, but what's going on in the brain is their amygdala has flagged that this pattern right in front of me equals potential past danger. And then the body responds before the conscious thinking can even catch up. I think this is really important information to understand, that for the most part, people aren't responding with these responses on purpose. They are based on something from the past. And we can change that through repetition, through new experiences of safety. And that's the sort of work I do with my clients. Okay, the second thing, which actually is on the back of that one, which I genuinely believe would change so much if people learnt this at a young age, is that you need to understand 95% of what you do, what you think, and what you feel every single day is unconscious. We are running on autopilot for most of the time. The way you get up in the morning is autopilot. The route that you drive to work, autopilot. The way you respond when someone criticizes you, as I gave in the last example, autopilot. The stories you tell yourself about who you are and what you deserve, autopilot. Unless we take the steps to actually get curious, then we are just going to be continuing to run on autopilot. About 70% of what we do today is basically the same as what we did yesterday. This is because of the way that the brain is wired. It takes repeated actions and turns them into automatic neural loops so that your conscious mind doesn't have to work as hard. And I've probably used like so many examples around this: learning to drive, learning to tie your shoelace, learning to write your name. It all becomes just an autopilot, automatic pattern after a while. This is why willpower alone will never be enough to change, because the prefrontal cortex, which is your logical, rational decision-making brain, is not where most of these patterns live. You can't just think your way into the subconscious, because the subconscious doesn't speak logic. It actually speaks through emotion, it speaks through imagery, it speaks through repetition and sensation. There are science behind practices like meditation, which puts you into a state where we can access the subconscious, visualization, scripting, breath work. All these types of things are how we can access the subconscious. Repetition and emotion is really key to a lot of rewiring that autopilot part of our brain. If we learned this earlier at school, we'd actually learn that the brain can change, that we can change this stuff that's running beneath the surface with the right tools, then things would be a lot different. Put it that way. The next thing that we should be told is that your brain isn't showing you reality, it's showing you a highly edited version of it. Okay. So often we think, oh, it's just the way it is. That's just reality. You've probably heard that saying, it's just reality. It's your reality. It's not everyone's reality, because at any given moment, your senses are taking in about 11 million bits of information. 11 million. But your conscious mind only processes about 50. So your brain is making like ruthless, savage decisions about what makes the cut, and it filters these bits of information based on what it already knows, based on what it believes is relevant and what it's been trained to look for. This means if you've never seen yourself as successful, you will literally not notice the opportunities in front of you. That is your reticular activating system in action. I got a red car at the start of the year and I was like, oh, I don't know about a red car. It's not really my thing. I don't think anyone drives red cars. Now I've got my red car and all I can see on the road is red cars. It's the same kind of thing. I don't notice other things because my reticular activating system is looking for red cars. You can't see what you're not primed to see. And this is why they say where attention goes, energy flows. It is neuroscience. What you focus on consistently, your brain starts to flag as important. If we were taught this at a younger age, I think a lot more people would stop asking, why does nothing good ever happen to me? Or why am I not good at this? I know for me, I had never heard about this concept until I was 23 and I was doing the lightning process training and recovering from chronic pain. I realized that I had been filtering and looking for, my brain had been trained to look for pain rather than comfort. It had been trained to look for fear rather than what might go right. I was also trained to look for where I always made mistakes rather than what I did well. I was trained to look for where I might let someone down rather than what I truly thought about a situation and what my real opinion was. So there were all these filters running that I had no awareness of whatsoever. And I think that if we were taught that from a young age, then it would help so many people. And our next one is that you'll never rise above the way you see yourself. This is like, of all of them, I think this is the one that I wish the whole world knew. You will never rise above the way you see yourself. Your self-image is the ceiling to your success. It is so important that we are constantly challenging and changing our inner narrative to expand what's possible for us. The way that you speak to yourself matters so much. It matters so much. And for the most part, a lot of us were never taught this. The words you speak drive the statements that you say about yourself, which are the beliefs, and your beliefs dictate so much of your reality. And half the time we don't even question them. So we say things like, oh, I'm just an anxious person, or I'm just not a morning person. I'm someone who's always running late, or, it just runs in my family. These are belief identity statements that our brain will only ever work to support and find more evidence towards to show you that this is true, right? What I know for sure now, which I definitely did not know at school, is that you have to move through life with a healthy level of skepticism about other people's beliefs. That is the key word, beliefs. Because so much of the time, people's beliefs, if they're a person in power, if they're an authority, if we value their opinion, their belief can sound like fact. But most of the time, what they tell you is based on their conditioning, especially if it's about you, it's not about your potential. It is so important that if we have this image and this picture of the person that we want to become, we start thinking about what types of beliefs do they have? What types of self-talk do they have? Because what a lot of people miss when they're trying to get change is they're not stepping into a new identity. And for the most part, when we step into a new identity, we have to shift some of these beliefs. An example could be like when I'm working with my clients, I'll say chronic pain again, it's an easy example. The identity of somebody who is comfortable, who is healthy, who is well, what sort of beliefs they have? They have this belief that my body knows what to do. They have this belief that I can be healthy, I can be comfortable. What sort of behaviors are they doing? They're also not consistently checking in on their body. They're not looking for pain. They're trusting their body. So what I teach my client is for you to actually get well, you need to start embodying some of those behaviors. You need to start practicing some of those behaviors around letting go of needing to look for symptoms and trusting in your body. And you need to start working towards finding evidence to support the belief of I am healthy, my body knows what to do. So belief work and identity work, if only we knew how important this was and how important it is to actually catch some of the I am statements and start questioning, is this actually taking me towards the life I love? Is this something that was just handed down for me that I actually don't want to carry anymore? Because so many people are walking around thinking it's just the way I am. And therefore, their brain is only staying within a tiny realm of their potential because it's not filtering for all the opportunities possible. If they were to shift into a different belief system, a different identity, there would be so much more available to them. And the last one I feel like talking on today, something we all need to be taught early, is that emotions are messengers. Emotions are not problems to be solved. They're not signs that something is wrong with you. You don't need to shut them down. You don't need to push them away. They are simply messengers, I should say. Every emotion that moves through you is carrying information. For example, anger is an emotion that is telling you that a boundary has been crossed. Resentment is an emotion that is telling you, probably likely, that a boundary has been crossed or that your needs haven't been expressed. Anxiety is an emotion that is telling you that something feels unsafe. And grief is an emotion that's telling you that you loved something deeply. Because no one taught me this young. It may have changed, but because no one teaches this to us from a young age, what we learn to do is to suppress our emotions. We override our emotions, or we perform our emotions instead of actually listening to them, instead of just letting them come, attending to them, and then seeing potentially what is behind them. I think as a society on the whole, we've got really good at managing how we look on the outside, but the messages on the inside keep piling up to the point that we can't quite decipher them because they've either been there for a while or we're not used to actually working with them. So instead of asking, how do I get rid of this uncomfortable feeling? It's really important we start asking ourselves, or we are taught to ask ourselves, what is this feeling trying to tell me? Because that completely changes it. It just reminds us that all emotions are actually part of the human experience. Today was a short and sweet episode, friends. I hope you enjoyed it and it got you thinking. I know times are changing, so I do know and understand that some of these things, fingers crossed, are getting taught to people at a younger age. I'm obviously very passionate about the gaps in knowledge we have and how when we feel empowered and influential from a younger age, then that can just completely change our trajectory. And also, like for me and a lot of my clients, if I'd known some of these things at an earlier age, it probably would have saved me years of going round and round in circles with health issues, living in fear. But that's another conversation. Anyway, as I said, I will be back here at the end of May. Please do reach out in the meantime. I have one space left available on my upcoming online training, lightning process training, on the 1st to the 3rd of May over a weekend. I'll pop all details in the show notes. And if you would like to work with me privately, then please do fill an application out on my website and I'll get back to you and share more about my services and how I can support you. Thank you again for taking your precious time to listen, to share, to rate this podcast. It means so much to me and I just love being here and love doing this. I know I'm going to come back a new, refreshed, upgraded woman after my study is completed and I come back with brand new energy. I really look forward to it. See you guys on the next episode. Have a great day.